This is Niffler's cage. It's kind of dirty right now, but it's okay. That's his feeding station right there. There's his little house. I need to clean the levels because that's just how we woke up this morning. This is my little guy eating his hay. He loves to eat hay. He's a good boy. You a good boy? Are you a good boy? He's shedding right now like crazy because it's gonna be spring soon, or it's already spring, which is really exciting. I don't know why he's awake. He's really asleep right now. He just wanted some hay. Hi. So we're back from seeing Niffler. So we're going to talk about all the stuff that you need to know to own a chinchilla. So chinchillas, there's 4 things that you need to know when going into buying a chinchilla. Number 1, don't get them wet. They cannot survive if they get wet. Their fur is very, very dense. They cannot properly dry themselves. Number 2, they're crepuscular. They are awake during dawn and dusk, and they will keep you up at night. Number 3, they don't really like to cuddle. A lot of people say they want to get a chinchilla because they want something to cuddle with. If you want something to cuddle with, I recommend getting a rabbit or a dog, something like that. Not a chinchilla. Chinchillas don't really like to cuddle. Number 4, they live 18 to 20 years plus. So if you're going to get a chinchilla, you have to be committed to keeping them for their entire lifespan. And let me go on a little tangent right now. There is a shelter crisis going on at the moment. Lots of animals are adopted or bought from pet stores and stuff, and people don't realize how long these animals live or are not prepared to take care of these animals their entire lifespan, and they decide they don't want them anymore, or they can't keep them anymore because they weren't properly prepared, or something happens and they go and they dump them in a shelter. Please, 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 for any animal you are getting, make sure you know the cage size that they require, the activity and interaction levels that they need, their diets, their lifespans, especially their lifespans, and look at that and make sure you do your research and make sure that you are committed and prepared to take that on, because it is a big responsibility. And I think a lot of people need to realize that when you have a pet, or when you have, even like with kids too, like when you have a pet and when you have a kid, like your life isn't yours anymore. You have to be committed to keeping this little thing alive. Even, I don't care if it's like a sea monkey or like a horse, you have to be committed to keep this thing alive. Anyway, stepping off my soapbox, those are the 4 major things you need to know for owning a chinchilla. So yeah. So let's go into a little bit of background about chinchillas. So chinchilla, or long-tailed chinchillas, are the ones that you find in the pet stores and stuff like that. They are from the Andes Mountains in South America, where it's very cold and they have a very limited diet there. They are very intelligent, small little creatures that are just very delightful and very fun to keep. They were first domesticated in the 19th century, and breeding of the domesticated chinchillas didn't officially start until the 1920s, so they haven't been domesticated that long. Unfortunately, in the wild, chinchillas are endangered. You can't even find them in some of the countries that they used to be found in anymore, and part of it is because of the pet trade and the fur industry and habitat destruction. So if you can please learn a little bit more about chinchillas and help the endangered chinchillas out in the wild, please do so, so that we can keep this delightful little creature not extinct in the wild. Yeah. So the first thing to know about chinchillas is their cage size. Chinchillas require a lot of space. I usually recommend a minimum of 5 feet by 3 feet by 2 feet. And those little tiny pet store cages you see are the ones they try to sell you in the pet stores. I would not get those. They're too small for chinchillas. Oftentimes they have plastic inside of their enclosures, and it's just not good. The ferret cage by KT that they sell is okay for a temporary cage for a baby chinchilla. Just make sure you cover those plastic ledges with fleece so that they can't chew on it, but try to upgrade them as soon as possible. One of the enclosures I recommend is the Midwest cage, Ferret Nation cage. That one's a really good one. There's also one in Chewy.com if you can't afford the Ferret Nation cage. It's a little bit bigger, which is really cool, and it's a little bit cheaper too. So yeah, you want to make sure that chinchillas have the more tall space versus versus vertical space. Horizontal space, I mean. My bad. They do like to climb and hop and all that stuff like that. They are from the Andes mountains being the key word there. You don't want them to just be like a one-level cage. That's not big enough. You want to make sure that they can express their natural behaviors inside of the cage. Niffler's cage is 5'5" by 4 foot by 2 feet deep. It's pretty big. It's not made for chinchillas. It's actually a catio enclosure. But you know, it's fine. Yeah, you don't want them to be inside of their cage all the time. That's one of the main things too. You want to make sure that you take them out for at least an hour to 2 hours every day to explore and run around and be little chaos beings that they are. We let Niffler run around in the bathroom, and he just runs around and hops on the walls and stuff like that, and it's really funny. You do want to be monitoring your chinchilla while they're out for playtime, because they can get into stuff, and they will get into stuff, and they will chew everything you love. So don't leave them unattended. Chinchillas should never be a pet that's free roamed. They have to be in the cage when you're not around them. They can get into trouble, and they can hurt themselves. So that's one of the most important things to know. As for diet, you heard me say in the beginning of the video that their diet's very limited, and it's true. In the wild, they would be eating things like grasses and hays, and I believe it's like cactus plants too. So very limited diet. I don't like the pellets that come with a bunch of stuff inside of them, like those dried fruits and dried grains and dried whatever and unknown kibbles that are in there. I don't recommend those. Chinchillas, I believe, are prone to diabetes, so you don't want to give them a lot of sugar. When you're giving them pellets, make sure it's a plain pellet, and they are smart enough to pick through those variety stuff and not eat the healthy stuff. So make sure it's a plain pellet. I give Niffler Oxbow pellets. He really likes these. They, as you can tell, they are very plain, and I don't give him that much. They're very plain, and he really likes them. They're hay based, and yeah, I give him the Garden Select one. I also give Niffler the KT Field and Forest. It's also a hay-based pellet, and I like these because they're a different shape for his teeth. So yeah, and two other good pellets are the Missouri pellets. They actually use those in zoos. And the science selected pellets, I would go with the grain-free one, but whatever. As for treats, chinchillas can't have a lot of treats, which a lot of people think it's very sad. I think it's whatever. I'm prepared to do anything for Niffler, so yeah. Those little hamster cookie treats that you can find at pet stores, or the little like puffs or whatever, those are not safe for chinchillas. They have too much sugar in them. Chinchillas can't have that much sugar, so I would stay away from them completely. Personally, I wouldn't even give them to a hamster or a mouse, but I digress. Safe treats for chinchillas would be plain Cheerios, oats, treat hays like oat hay and orchard grass hay, and rose hips. Niffler really loves rose hips, and hibiscus flowers. I would be careful with the type of flower you're giving him. There's only specific kinds that they are safe for chinchillas. So yeah, I would keep it safe and just give him hibiscus flowers. Niffler loves to eat flowers. Sometimes if he is really good, like, or it's a special occasion, I would say maybe like once every 2 months, I give him a minuscule amount of the sweet potato yummies. And when I say minuscule, I don't mean like half of the sweet potato yummy. I'm talking about like not even half of a half, like a tiny piece of sweet potato yummies. Chinchillas should also have Timothy hay inside of their enclosure 24/7. You can buy it in bulk. I think it's a little bit expensive to buy it in pet stores, but you can go to like Science Selective, what is it called? Small Pet Select, my bad, website, and you can actually get a really big thing of hay that will last you a long time, and it's really fresh and really nice strands of hay. You also got to make sure that you know the difference between first cutting, second cutting hay, and yeah. As for water, you don't want to ever give them water in a water bowl. They can knock it over and get themselves wet. Like I said before, you don't want them to get wet. Chinchillas have 80 hairs per hair follicle, and they have one of the most densest coats in the animal kingdom. So you don't want that getting wet. They can't properly dry themselves, and they can get things like hypothermia or start growing mold in their hair. You don't want that. So just stay away from water bowls. As for water bottles, stay away from plastic water bottles. They can chew through them, get themselves wet. You want glass water bottles. KT has one, so does Oxbow. I don't really like those two. I've tried both of them. They leak. Full Cheeks has one that's really good. I personally really like that one. I've been using it for a couple years now, and it's worked perfectly. So yeah, it hasn't leaked, and it's really good. You can find it at PetSmart. If you don't have a PetSmart, then there's a really good one on Etsy as well. I will leave the link down below. It's not an affiliate link, but don't ever use tap water. They can get a parasite called Giardia, and once they get it, it's really hard to get rid of. So, yeah. As for enrichment, chinchillas are actually very smart, so you want to have a lot of toys inside of their enclosure. Just things that they could chew on, hammocks, ledges, stuff that they can play on. They really like wheels, running on wheels. Niffler has a really big wheel. If you're going to get a wheel, make sure it's at least 14 inches in diameter, and that they can run fully on it with their backs curving. I wouldn't get a flying saucer. They can lose control, fall off, fly off, and break a limb. No bueno. They also need wood chews. Their teeth never stop growing because they are rodents. So you can either use wood shoes like this, make sure it's made out of a safe wood, or lava pumice stones like this one. They really love this stuff, but they love to chew on it. Niffler goes crazy. They don't last a day in his enclosure. I always have to replace them. This is for their lower incisors and their upper incisors so that they don't get overgrown. And if you're wondering about their back molars getting overgrown, that's what the hay is for. Hay is very important for their dental health. You always want to make sure that you're checking their teeth, giving them health checks and stuff like that. The health of their teeth are very, very important. Yeah. So if your chinchilla's fur is getting a little bit oily, which it shouldn't, if you're giving them the proper dust bath. So dust baths are really important for them. As I mentioned before, they cannot get wet. So when you bathe them, it's with a dust bath. I wouldn't use the hamster sand for it. I don't think it's fine enough. And I wouldn't use chinchilla dust for hamsters either. So it goes both ways. So chinchilla dust is like very fine, and it really cleans the oils off of their skin. And it's very important that you have a dust bath for them. I leave Niffler's dust bath in his enclosure 24/7 so that he has the option of taking it whenever he wants. Just because I like to take showers whenever I want, so I assume he does too. But that's just me. Some people don't agree with that. Some people say like twice a week. Some people say 3 times a week. It's really up to you. Don't make sure that it's not like 1 week yes, 1 week no. Make sure you're giving them a dust bath every week. They can get matted fur and stuff like that if their fur is not taken care of properly. I brush Niffler only when he's shedding. I don't want him to get matted and stuff like that. But I'm just like a crazy, overprotective helicopter parent. Yeah. So yeah. I take Niffler to the vet once a year. I'm planning on taking him twice a year once he gets older, but I take him once a year just to make sure that he's healthy, that he doesn't have any tumors, that he doesn't have any teeth abscesses, he doesn't get bumblefoot, stuff like that. Vet care is very, very, very important if you have an animal. Even if it's a small animal. I know a lot of pet stores like to be like, oh, you don't need to take your hamster or your chinchilla or your rat to the vet, but you do. Annual vet visits are very important, especially if you have a senior animal. If you can't afford the vet, then unfortunately you can't afford the pet, and that's just a philosophy that I live by, which is very, I know what a lot of people are going to say. And some things to look out for is GI stasis. So that's when the intestines are not, like the digestion stops. So chinchillas need to have constant digestion in and out of their body. So it's very important to look out for GI stasis. That's why I have I have 2 things in case he does get that. I have a stethoscope so that I can check and make sure that he doesn't have GI stasis. And if I figure out that he does, I have KT critical care for herbivores to make sure to get that running again. If your chinchilla does get GI stasis, it's very important that you take them to the vet immediately. They could die, and I believe it's like 48 hours or less. So it's very important that you're always making sure if they're like looking sick or something, that you take them to a vet. I would always recommend getting a stethoscope just so you can check on their little guts, make sure they're bubbling like they're supposed to. And yeah, another thing that they can get is bumblefoot. This is for a bacterial infection on their feet that they can get if they have a wire bottom or if the enclosure is dirty all the time. Sorry about that. So make sure that your enclosure is clean all the time, and make sure that you don't have any wire bottoms. Another thing that they can get is respiratory infections. With any pet, you don't want any candles around them. You also don't want incense. You also don't want air fresheners, and you don't want to smoke around them. I would say that's a general rule for any pet, whether you have a dog or anything like that. But it's especially true for chinchillas. They have such tiny little lungs that they can't possibly handle it, and you can get an upper respiratory infection. They can also get one from unsanitary conditions, so that's why it's very important that you deep clean your cage once a week and that you spot clean it every day. Yeah. Another thing, I wouldn't recommend chinchillas for small children. They don't like to be handled very often, and if they do, it's for short periods of time. They have very, very fragile bones. So if like a small child mishandles them, they can break their ribs or a leg or something like that, and it's not good for them. They also don't really like children that much. At least that's true for Niffler. Niffler actively seeks out children to bite them, which is not a good habit, I know. I've tried to get him to stop, he doesn't stop. But yeah, they don't like children very much either. I don't know if it's because they're too loud, I don't know if it's because they run around and stuff. I don't know. But Niffler doesn't like children. And from what I've seen with other chinchillas, they don't really like children. They don't really make a good pet for small children. Older kids, yeah, I'll say maybe like 10 and up. Smaller kids, no. They can be preyed upon by dogs and cats. So if you have a dog and a cat in the house, just kind of keep them separated. Never take them out of the cage when the dog or the cat's around, just for the safety of your chinchilla. Yeah. Another thing, they practice coprophagy. So that's when they have two types of poops. One poop is their actual waste, and another poop is like still filled with nutrients. So they will eat their own poop. That's another thing you need to know. As for handling, keep it to a minimum. Your body heat can overheat them. The oils on your hands can hurt their coat. And they don't genuinely like handling too much. They will like to be around your presence, but they don't want to be handled too often. Another thing is they should really be in groups. I know Niffler's by himself. I'm working on getting him a friend, and I will probably make a video if I do get him a friend in the near future. But you definitely don't want to leave them by themselves. They're very social. They're very intelligent. If you can have like another chinchilla in a cage next to them, that's really great. But if you want them in the same cage together, there is a bonding process, and it usually takes like a couple weeks to a month to do. So just be prepared for that. Yeah. Don't have male and female together unless one of them is spayed or neutered. And yes, you can get your chinchilla spayed or neutered. It's just very expensive and very risky. So try to keep same-sex pairs if you can. The average cost of a chinchilla starting up, I'm going to say, is around $1,000. If you're doing it properly, the cage is around $300, $400. The hay monthly is around $40 to $50. Pellets around $10 to $20, and then the treats I would say $10. Chews $10. Dust $12. Bedding, depending on what you get, fleece bedding can range from around $20 to $50 per fleece pad. Bedding is around $20 and up per bedding package. And then tiles are really cheap at Home Depot, but still, wheels range from around $40 to $70. And water bottles, if you're going to get a really nice one, I would say maybe $15 to $20. So just keep in mind the cost is very, very, very expensive starting off. You can probably find some stuff on Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that, but yeah, just make sure you boil them and stuff like that. Another thing is, like I said in the beginning of the video, their lifespan is 18 to 20 years. So just make sure that you are prepared to keep this animal for that long. It's very, very, very important that you don't just get a pet, get bored of it, and then go dump it in a shelter somewhere. Just be aware that it is 18 to 20 years. So I think that's pretty much, oh, I almost forgot. Chinchillas shouldn't go over, temperatures in their room shouldn't go over 75 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius. I'm a bio major, I should know this, but I don't. So if you're going to have them in a room, make sure the room has AC, or make sure that they have a fan, like their own personal fan. You don't want them to overheat. That's like a surefire way to kill your chinchilla. So yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to chinchilla care. If I forgot anything, just let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe if you like this content. I will make another care sheet for another pet that I have. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Have a good one.